Every once in a while, I like to read a Brandon Sanderson book. I love to immerse myself in the magical and strange worlds that he builds. And so today we're going to talk about the book Tress of the Emerald Sea. Now, this book is a standalone book as far as I know. I don't know that there's going to be another one in this series. It follows the character of Glorf. Now, you may wonder, why is it called Tress of the Emerald Sea? Well, because Glorf did not go by Glorf. She went by Tress because of the tresses of her hair, and that was her nickname. And Tress, let's be honest, is a much nicer name than Glorf. Glorf, if I'm being honest, okay, so for years on and off, I've played World of Warcraft, right? And I've always played a hunter. And so my hunter pets, that sounds like something I would name my hunter pets. I'd name them like Zort Flobber and Snarfy and Scuzzlebutt and just dumb stuff like that. So Glorf totally sounds like something I would have named one of my hunter pets in WoW. Anyway, Glorf is Tress, and Tress lives on this small little island that is like a rock, a lot of smog in the atmosphere, and it seems kind of a crappy place to live. And, you know, she collects cups. That's her big hobby, and she cleans windows, and she has this friend. His name is Charlie. And Charlie pretends that he's not the Duke's son, although she knows that he is. But he's like, yeah, I work for the Duke or whatever. But she knows. Technically, you know, he's probably not supposed to associate with the common folk or whatever, but he does anyway. Up until the day when his father decides it's time to go and marry off Charlie to some princess of some other kingdom. And Charlie and Tress they're in love, even though they're kind of like star-crossed because they're not supposed to be together, and, you know, the whole political thing of marriage and families like that. So Charlie is taken away. Tress is quite upset by this, and I don't even know if she actually realized she loved him till he was gone, but once he was, she realizes this. He promises her before he goes that he will not marry anyone else, because he's really good at talking about really boring and mundane subjects and driving people insane. But Tress seems to like this. He goes away, and his dad is kind of a dick. Well, let's not say kind of. He is a dick. His dad's kind of just a horrible political person. And so they go away for months and months and months, and then they return. But when they return, Charlie is not there anymore, and like his nephew is. He's like, oh, well, Charlie went off to sail the seas to go confront the sorceress of the Midnight Seas and what have you. And basically they just kind of like got rid of him. And so the sorceress has Charlie and wants to try to ransom him. And so Tress, never having left this island or really done much outside of washing windows, takes it on herself that she's gonna go and save Charlie. How's she gonna do this? She's not really sure. And what's funny is when I started reading this, the narration of it was so like ridiculous and goofy and like wackadoo. I don't even know how to really describe it. It's like a wackadoo. And you're reading this story, and as you get into it, you know, eventually she does get off the island. She kind of goes on this ship and sort of stows away and makes her way towards her destination, not really sure what she's going to do. And she meets all these friends along the way. And the whole time I'm wondering, why is this narrator like such a dingus? Like, they sound like such a dingus and ridiculous. And then all of a sudden, the narrator just plops into the story, and his name is Hoid. And Hoid is somewhat insane and likes to say ridiculous things like, I had a watermelon once and it gave me a lot of diarrhea, and just says stuff like that for most of the story. And he has real weird fashion sense, and he talks about tasting each of his toes to figure out the flavors and all kinds of ridiculous things. And so you're like, okay, so the narrator now is in the story and he's crazy. So what happened to this guy, and why is he a nutball? And you find out that he was cursed by the sorceress, but he can't really talk about it. Somehow, maybe he'll be able to help Tress on her journey to find the sorceress since he's actually been to where she is. And they sail on these seas, and these seas are not water. They're made of these spores, and each sea is like a different kind of spore. So the spores of the Emerald Sea are verdant, and when they have water touch them, they burst into vines, which, if they're a little too close to people, or if they touch like your saliva, will kind of like burst through your nose and your eyeballs and kill you. So they're very dangerous. So if rain happens, not a good thing. But each spore sea does something different. Like the Crimson Sea is crystals. So these big spiky crystals will like shoot out, which could just stab through your boat. The Midnight Seas, where the sorceress is the black spores. And those are of a weird nature where you can kind of thought form them into things and creatures. And so the sorceress controls all these like weird monsters that swim through these seas. And it's such a crazy, fun story. As I finally settled into the insanity of the narration that was the narrator Hoid and his ridiculous things that he would say, it becomes quite charming, and I kind of loved it. And I had such a fun time with this book. I honestly have yet to not have a fun time with a Brandon Sanderson book. It hasn't happened yet. He has a lot of books, so it could at some point, but this one was a lot of fun. I really loved it. I really love the characters. They're so weird and goofy, and just Tress is a absolutely fantastic heroine in this story, and the places it goes and the journey they take and the weirdness and the crew and all that good stuff is just a really fun time. And if you like kind of weird and wacky and fun fantasy books, Tress of the Emerald Sea is absolutely fantastic. As I said, when you first come into it, the narration is just like this wonky ridiculousness. Like, what is going on? It definitely doesn't take itself too seriously, and I think that was what was so charming and fun about it. So, liked it quite a bit. I would highly recommend it. And if you're a fan of Brandon Sanderson, the next video coming up will be about another Brandon Sanderson book, so stick around, check it out. And if you had fun hanging out today, hit that subscribe button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.